Don't know what happened there. I was trying to do my intro and the video came up. Technical issues this morning. I'm going to turn the mouse off before the laptop decides to do something else. I'm all for technology, but I think technology is trying to take over our lives now.
It is indeed. It is.
Welcome to an audience with a queen. I've got an amazing fellow warrior, as you can see beside me. Kim, welcome to an audience with a queen.
Oh, thank you for having me, Kerry. I'm very excited to be here tonight.
Brilliant. So what have you and Michael been up to?
So we've been working on our relationship, working on where we want to be in terms of our work. It's been really exciting, kind of talking through all those aspects. And it's really good. And I've been working on different ways to get people connected in the dating world as well. So I've been working with another lady and we're coming up with different ways to get people connected back into the dating world. And I think tonight we're going to be talking about part of the dating world. So I'm very excited to be here and to share my knowledge. And
yeah. Obviously, you're the dating doctor, and I thought what better to talk about was dating and mental health. As we all know, going into any first date or just meeting somebody for the first time causes a lot of anxiety. And when you've got anxiety before that even happens, makes things even worse. So what's your experience with that?
Yeah, I think that's a really great thing to start with, Kerry. Meeting someone or dating someone or even, creating a relationship, whether it's at work or a friendship, it can bring up some anxiety for people. And it's how we manage that anxiety, because it's a strategy that we're running. And look, in the Mental Health Warriors, we talk about, how to manage our mental health. And we all have a form, of mental health in the sense that we all can get stuck in our minds. And so my offering tonight is for people to look at, how, if that anxiety is actually connecting with them in a nervous way. And is that a positive thing? Because does that mean that they're excited about going towards a date, or are they excited about meeting someone? And that anxiety brings up butterflies or nerves. And so we feel it in our bodies. And I think it's great to kind of connect with and really just start to understand. And I think the more that we understand what that anxiety is, and if it's in our tummy with butterflies, or if it's in our head and we're thinking, oh, maybe it might not be the right person, it's kind of then looking at reflecting on that and going, let's have an open mind. Let's kind of really just stop and, go into this and maybe even share it as well, Kerry. So I think sometimes, you can share that anxiety, which could be in a different way. It could be shared, I'm a little bit nervous tonight to meet you, so there's so much opportunity that we could explore. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think having a little bit of nerves before you go and meet somebody new, whether it's just a friend or it is just a date, I think it can get that adrenaline going, can't it? So you want to make that experience as fun as it can be, because everyone judges people. I think is it in the first 10 seconds?
Yeah, it can be. It can be, and I do. And I think it's sometimes that we have this expectation. So we're building the story, and whether it's in the dating world or creating a relationship outside, in the dating world, you might have pictures of someone, and you might have words that represent someone, and you might have spoken to them on the phone. And all of this is building this wonderful story. So then when you meet them, Kerry, you kind of go, oh, wow. And so it is that 10 seconds and going, is that connecting? But I think in society these days, we are reacting too quickly. So my advice tonight for anyone listening on any dating tips is look at expanding, look at exploring, and actually giving that person a chance. Because I love the fact that you shared that, Kerry, and saying people are judging and they're judging within the first 10 minutes. And sometimes that could be someone that you actually might have a lifelong relationship with. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, it's been like 13 and a half years now, but the first night that I went to meet Adam, even though I'd met him previously on a training course, we'd only spoken briefly, so I didn't know him that well. He was still a stranger to me. But going down and meeting him for the first time on a one-on-one basis, the nerves were still there. I was still wondering, how's this going to go? Where's it going to go, sort of thing. And I think in both of our minds, it was, this isn't going to last. It's just going to be a fling, sort of thing. And we've both admitted that to each other. We just thought it was going to just be another fling, but it turned out to be a lifelong thing with us. So you never know. You could go and meet the one.
Exactly. And I think that's wonderful that you're sharing that, because there was the nervous that came up for you. And maybe there's a part of him that was making you nervous. And I had the same experience, Kerry, with my partner, Michael. And he still sometimes makes me nervous. And it's that person that's actually looking at you in a different light and seeing something within you. And so there's that nervousness, and it's a beautiful feminine quality to actually expose, to be open to. So I think it's a wonderful quality to have nerves and a little bit of anxiety. I think it's, really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think going through the first few months of the relationship, there's always a lot of nerves. So you're nervous about going on your first date, nervous about the first time you meet them. Well, maybe that should be the other way around, but oh well. You're nervous about like the first time you sit down and eat with them. So literally, I'd only known Adam on a personal basis that we'd just met about 24 hours, and we sat down on a wall of all places eating chicken and chips. That was mine, Adam's first date.
Chicken and chips, that's okay.
Chicken and chips, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, but I think you're absolutely right. And to kind of open that up a bit more, it's I think there's this period, and I wrote an article about this, the honeymoon period. And if you look at the honeymoon period, it's kind of like you're always trying to present yourself in the best way, and you're always making sure you say the right thing. But what I've shared in this article is that the honeymoon period can extend for as long as your relationship wants to extend. And so if we keep on creating those cute little interludes and, cute little interactions, then that could create the nervousness with one another. You're creating something different. You're opening it up to many possibilities. And I think we could all kind of look at reviewing our relationships. And I think it's always a good thing to kind of check in with one another. So these are kind of a couple of tips that I'm slipping in, Kerry, throughout the show to then share with people, are you checking in with your partner? And I've got a couple of clients who were always giving, and always giving to others but never receiving. And even I was this way inclined. And so I say to people, it's just about changing our expression, changing how we communicate in order to open up the possibilities for us to receive. Because when you're giving to someone and it's not being returned, sometimes we might get a little bit upset. And so my offer tonight is for, viewers to kind of consider, if you're dating in the dating world and you feel like you're the one that's giving, is turning around to your partner or the person that you're dating and saying, would you be open to sharing with me how you're feeling about me? Or would you be open to taking me out on a picnic? Or would you be open to going for a walk along the beach? So to actually creating our desires to be met. And so, and I think that then opens up even more things for us, wonderful things in our relationships, because we're communicating and we're actually saying what we need,
Yeah, and Adam's got a question for you. Is Michael making you feel nervous, or is it your subconscious mind making yourself nervous?
So it's the innocence for me. It's not my subconscious. Well, it could be part of it, and it's him looking into me, which is, can be. I'm very open to that. So I'm very open to that, and it's very daunting for some people. But it's the vulnerability. So it's more the fact that someone is able to actually see me for who I am, and they're seeing me for who I am, which is the beauty in actually going towards love. And so it's the person actually then being vulnerable and opening up and actually sharing that. And what I've shared is that you make me feel nervous. And so it's wonderful to be able to share that and be vulnerable, and be open to love. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, being open with somebody, talking about the way you're feeling, you're putting yourself into a vulnerable position because obviously your partner might not have those feelings back. So if you say, for instance, I'm going to use me and Adam as an example. Adam told me he loved me, and I didn't say it back straight away, and that made me feel a bit, oh, am I going to lose him now because he said that and I haven't said it back? But I think he understood that I wasn't in that same position as him, so he fell in love a bit more quickly than me. But I did eventually say it.
And that's such a great question. Like, well, I suppose a great experience to share, Kerry, because I think that happens to a lot of people.
Yeah,
And so it's us putting ourselves in a position where we do feel comfortable to deliver those messages and not expecting something in return. So if your partner, Adam, had that awareness at the time that he wanted to share that with you, but he's taking a risk by sharing that message, but that's how he felt at that point in time. And for you, you might have needed a few more dates in order to recognize, or trust, because with, women, we might need a bit more time. With men, they might feel it straight away, but everyone's different.
yeah,
So, but yeah, it's interesting that you thought, oh gosh, because I didn't say it, I might lose him. So, yeah, so it's interesting. So there goes back to the mental health side of things, in which we all have these fears or these rejections, Kerry, that all of us have coming up in our mind. Will this guy like me? Am I going to connect with this guy? Or vice versa. If a guy's going out on a date, will this girl like me? So yes, so mental health exists in the dating world. It's just how we are working through that for ourselves.
yeah.
And not getting caught up in our heads, but asking those questions and putting ourselves out there.
Yeah, and seeing as we're talking about dating and mental health, we've got to bring up toxic relationships. So at the time I met Adam, I was not long come out of a toxic relationship. The final straw was he accused me of lying about my granddad dying. That was the final straw for me. I walked out. That was it. That relationship over with. And then a few weeks later, I met Adam, and I'd at that point I had no intention of going into another relationship and seeing it out or anything like that. But I met Adam, and it turned out that I explained to him I think after a couple of days what I'd been through with my ex and with losing my granddad. Can't get my words out. And I gave him the opportunity to then walk away and just say, I need this space, sort of thing. But he stood by me. He chose to stand by me and support me through that bit. And I think that really helped the first stages of the relationship because I knew that he was going to be one of those people that I could lean on and ask for help if I needed it.
Yeah, and so what that points to is he was providing you emotional support, would you say?
Yeah.
In a time where you mentally were a little bit unstable because of the sadness that was coming up for you through your granddad dying. And what it sounds like with your previous partner is that
He was an absolute
he didn't believe you, what you were
Yeah.
saying. So there was some
Yeah, he
level.
basically tried saying that I was lying about my granddad dying and I was away cheating on him, basically. And that was the final straw. I walked.
So, yeah, so in considering that as an example, and sometimes, you know, we need to reflect. And when I've, you know, hear those sort of stories, Kerry, I suppose the thing that I would, you know, be considering is you wonder whether or not he was holding some sort of level of insecurity, right? Around that. But then there's had trust issues from either previous relationships. And it's something that I want to lead into as well, which is around our baggage from previous relationships and how we carry that baggage potentially into our new relationships. And so it's just recognizing, you know, is that really toxic? And I suppose the word toxic is, you know, it sounds like a heavy word. And I get sometimes, you know, people talk about gaslighting, people talk about, you know, people not treating someone else in a relationship not very well. And it does happen, it does go on. And it's us, you know, being in those relationships, or people being in those relationships, having brave voices to actually walk away from something that's no longer serving us. And it takes a lot of courage. So I just want to acknowledge that you took that courage to actually walk away because you realized mentally that he wasn't supporting you in that relationship. And then the door opened for you without him, and he then offered that emotional support. And so I think in any relationship or in the dating world, it's really asking ourselves, is that really important for yourself within a partner? And so I really sit down with people and I sort of say, what's really important for you? And for me, Carrie, the emotional part was on the top of my list. And whilst I had 50 items on my list, and Michael has ticked all those boxes on every level, the emotional part was the key thing for me. It was the key thing. Someone who's able to emotionally support me and understand how I am reacting or responding. And because we all have frustrations that come up in our lives, we all have exciting moments and we have wonderful memories. So it's kind of jumping in, Kerry, isn't it, at those times in our lives. And it sounds like Adam jumped in at that time and it was the perfect time. And you then built trust through this relationship by actually seeing his actions, and he was taking action by using his voice and stepping in. So I think it's wonderful. And I think they're really key things to kind of acknowledge and go, yep, that's important for me. So what else, you know, for the viewers, I mean, what else is important, do you think, Kerry, in a relationship, you know?
Obviously trust. I mean, I knew coming out of my ex-relationship that had been obviously quite bad, I knew that I wanted somebody that would support me and would support basically everything that I was going to do. So being supportive of me no matter what of their views, basically supporting me as a partner. So that meant through physical, emotional, everything basically.
So physical,
and then somebody I could trust.
And then the trust. So the trust and the supporting. So would you say supporting means supporting your goals and dreams?
Yeah.
And trust is trusting what you say is your truth.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big piece for everyone, I would say. Most viewers would be saying that trust is a big thing. And it's only when I think you break trust that's when the question of trust comes up or is being questioned. Sometimes in your instance, you know, maybe a particular person is not able to deal with their own trust issues and they've had the issues in the past, so it keeps on repeating. So it's like these patterns that keep on repeating. And Kerry, it could, you could have done everything in the world to look at changing his mind, but at the end of the day, he was holding that framework in place, and it was through potentially a past experience. So you may not have done anything wrong and was always being honest and open and sharing your truth, yet someone else was not able to actually integrate that. So I think that's really important to kind of for people to be aware of when they're either dating or getting your feedback. You're kind of listening to how someone responds.
Yeah, I think another big thing would be acceptance as well. So be accepting of who you are as a person and what your goals are and that sort of thing. Being accepting of you as a person, not trying to change who you are as a person.
And I think that's a great point. And so on that, for the viewers, how do you think, and I've got, a few answers around this, but how do you think someone could operate where they are accepting of everything that other person does? Because, we have little things where we might value cleaning up the kitchen, right? And just say you had a partner that never put the dishes away, right? How do you, in that sort of environment, be accepting of that piece? How would you tackle that piece for yourself?
I think with me, me and Adam actually have had this conversation about him helping me in the house.
Yeah.
And, it's one of these that we sat down and I said, look, I'm not Cinderella. I'll do the housework, but you've got to help out. I can't feel like I'm just Cinderella in the house. That's not good. And if that's the way it's going to be, the worry was that going to be the end of the relationship? But luckily we worked it out, and we worked out where we're going to be a team where one of us deals with the kids, one of us deals with the housework. Fine. That's what we've come up with. So it's a 50-50 thing. We deal with the kids, we deal with the house, we stay on top of everything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's been days where we've gone a few days with no cleaning up because we've been that busy sorting things with kids. That comes with the territory of having 2 kids with autism, though.
Yeah. And I think there's acceptance there as well, Kerry. So
yeah.
You've had the conversation. And so do you think that the strategy that you created, which is in our mental minds, right? And this is what I'm pointing out to the viewers, is the strategy that you took was very mature by having a conversation. So that was the starting point. And then what I do want to actually acknowledge with you is you said, I'm not Cinderella, so I can't look beautiful and do everything all the time, plus do all the dishes and whip around the house.
Yeah. No, that's the words I used. I'm not Cinderella.
Yeah, but that's lovely. So you're being a little bit playful and funny. And I think that's a couple of really cool strategies for people to consider, is just being a little bit playful. Because, being female, we can kind of then feed into the men in a playful way. And it's like, well, I would like to be sexy as well and dress up for you. And, and we can have intimate time, because if you think about relationships and dating, there is that component. And, it's looking at those parts as well. But at the end of the day, we have dishes to do and children to sort out. And so it's creating that balance. So it's then going, okay, so then do we have to have another conversation if that kind of falls off the train tracks, So I think a couple of key things for people, if anyone's listening, is really just being playful around it and saying, look, I'm happy to dress up in my lingerie if that might support you in actually helping me, because we both play a role in doing the dishes.
Yep. There's a few things I could say about that, but I don't think they're for on camera.
I think Adam's got it. Has Adam got a question or something?
Yeah, he has. When an individual goes and meets another individual, even though they have spoken for months, if not years beforehand, do you think it's anxiety or paranoia they experience?
That's a great question. Look, the question that would come up for me straight away is what stops them from actually meeting face to face? And I think this is a big thing. And I love this topic because I've been talking a lot about this topic with a lot of people in the dating
Yeah,
world. And going back to your anxiety as well. Um, it's that piece around that. What stops us from actually going to meet someone? And is it because we're scared ourselves about stepping in? So I don't think it's paranoia. I don't think it's anxiety. It's actually what's the key piece that stops people from actually meeting face to face? Are they not being true to the images that they've put online, or the images that they're creating in someone's mind, and the way that they're delivering themselves on the phone? They could be coming across as this confident person, yet deep down they might not be that person in person. So it's really breaking that down and going, okay, yeah, it'd be something I would be very interested to find out, what that's about.
yeah. No, unfortunately, he's nipped out, so.
Oh, right. No, that's okay. But I mean, look, sometimes I think, it just comes back to the strategy as well. What strategy are people playing? And sometimes in the dating world, Kerry, I created a dating strategy which was around looking at the photos, qualifying the photos and the words. So for me, I was then wanting to create conversations on apps in order to then see whether or not there was an emotional connection. So if a guy would only use one or two words, I would then kind of expand the conversation to try and get more words. But in the end, if I didn't get enough words, that was probably not the person for me, because I was wanting someone who was emotionally connected. So that was really key and high up on my list. And then I would then graduate to having a conversation with them over the phone to then hear their voice, hear whether or not they were confident, just in who they were. That's all. Like, everyone has different forms of confidence. And then the third part is, if I connected or felt like I was connected with them, I would then go and meet them face to face, and then see in person if that whole story had been connected on three levels. The pictures, the words, and the congruency of really just turning up as that person. And a lot of the time I found that people weren't able to kind of be their true selves, or they were trying to hide, and these platforms were sometimes creating that disconnect for some people. So it made it challenging for some people to really turn up with who they truly were. So yeah.
And while I've got you, I mean, when we're on this subject, we've got to talk about the intimacy side of things, because obviously that at some point of the relationship, it's going to come up. Some people rush into it, some people wait, and that's their choice.
Yeah.
That creates a whole new lot of anxiety, because you worry about, are they going to want to do things I don't like? Are they going to want to do things I like they might not like? That sort of thing. So how do you bring up conversations like that? Because I think that's something at the very start I struggled with. I struggled with telling Adam what I liked.
Yeah, and I think it's a tough one, in the sense that I think you have to build up enough trust to then be in that position to kind of talk through the intimacy part. Some people are more confident than others, and there's no race by any means. It's more about when that person feels ultimately comfortable in sharing that, because on a different level, Kerry, you were experiencing an emotional connection. But then on the intimacy side, which is the deeper connection as well, it's kind of sharing, well, I would like to be pleasured as well, and I have needs as well. And so I would like to just share with you what I actually like. And I think the more that we can have those conversations, the better, because we're being honest. And everyone, it's okay to get your needs met. And that's the part. And I like to keep it simple when I'm sharing that piece. I really do. To really keep it simple by just being, open when you are ready to be open, sharing with that person that, giving them feedback around what you like. And it's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's just that you're both just kind of coming together, and it can be a little bit awkward sometimes, in the beginning. And it's really just adjusting. That's all it is, We're just kind of tweaking a few things to make it even more amazing. So, yeah.
And we'd just like to share, the first time that you do be intimate with a new partner, it's okay that things are awkward, because that's just, you're getting used to each other. You're getting used to what each other likes, what each other doesn't like. Just talk about it if you're trusting of them, obviously.
I agree. And I think sometimes, we have this expectation that it needs to be fireworks, the first time. And both parties could be so nervous. What?
It's really not like that the first time.
No. And this is the thing. And everyone's so nervous and running anxiety and going, oh my gosh, am I performing? Because it's all about the performance. And then if you can talk through that, as you say, to get to the other side, to open it up, to expand it even more. I think there's so much beauty in communication. And look, if the feedback was received in an offensive way, it might come back to your delivery. It all comes back to how we deliver these messages, and coming from a place of love. If you can share it from a place of love, that's a key part. If you're feeling angry or that, it's not going to come out the right way.
Don't be running into a first intimate relationship based on what you've seen in the movies, because it's nothing like that in real life. That's just all filmed, acting, scripted. None of it is real. In real life, things are very, very different.
And I think on the dating side as well, Kerry, I think it's great that you brought up the intimacy side of things. It's like I say to people, what are you leading with in the dating world? Are you leading with sex, or are you leading with the mind? So if you look at the mental mind, what are you leading with? And if you're balancing both, but then sharing that, you're open and comfortable and looking at exploring to get to know that person, and over a period of time, you might look at getting intimate. It's these conversations that I think are really important to kind of share with that person. Because if you like someone and you're feeling attracted towards them and you've got those pheromones going on, but yet you want to hold back because you just want to make sure that it's right, because being intimate with someone, as we know, is a very special thing. And so it's like, are we giving it away too quickly? And so these are some of the things that I say to people in the dating world. Are you giving it away too quickly? Are you, exploring the type of partner and who you want to be with, and the relationship? Are you practicing the relationship that you want to be in with yourself in order to then draw that partner in? So, yeah, there's so many wonderful, juicy things to work out. Like, there really is.
There is. I mean, these things don't have to be rushed into. I mean, me and Adam waited, I think it was 3 months before we were intimate with each other, because obviously I'd just come out of that toxic relationship. I didn't want to rush into anything, and Adam was an absolute gentleman with me. He was supportive, and he didn't push me into doing anything that I wasn't ready to do. And then when we were ready to be intimate, it was awkward, and then it was fine afterwards.
That's great. And I love that, Kerry. He didn't push you to do anything that you didn't want to do. And I think in the dating world, to share that with people, I've had, come across people who've had situations where they're grown adults and they don't want to have sex, but the person's gone to have sex with them, and in their mind they don't want to, so their mental mind has come up and they've shared that they don't want to have sex, but yet they couldn't use their voice. So I've heard this so many times, and they couldn't use their voice to share. The great thing about these stories that I heard on so many levels is that the guy was actually aware of the person's facial expression, the girl's facial expression, and was able to then recognize and say, oh, you're not ready to get intimate or have sex with me now. And so these women were actually in a safe environment where you had men who were actually aware. So there's benefit with reading and watching people and their reactions. And it sounds like in your relationship that happens. And so I think that's really important for people to be aware when they're dating around, you know, the mental health of someone, what's going on for them in their mind, because the mental health is
to say that you don't want sex right now, you just want maybe just a cuddle.
That's exactly it.
That's absolutely fine. It's going back to that accepting, being accepting of each other.
That's exactly it. Accepting of that position, and then talking through that I might be ready in a few weeks' time. I'm just wanting to get to know you more. You know, it takes me a little bit of time to kind of give that away, or, you know, be intimate with someone. It's little things like that that we can kind of offer to then share, because it is something that, you know, is a lovely intimate thing once, you know, you connect with a partner on that level. It's beautiful.
It is, yeah. And things can be brilliant when you do connect on that level. It's getting to that point together as a couple by supporting each other, being accepting of each other.
And even throughout the relationship as well, you know, going in and out of those things and accepting, as you say, of different emotional things that come up for us and that might then impact that intimacy for a short period of time, you know, and then you kind of are back together again. So, yeah, I think there's so much richness in that, Kerry.
Yeah. So what's one last dating tip for our viewers?
So I'll have to give you a couple because I can't just give you one. I like to share. I think a couple of key things is just getting clarity. It's a really big word for me at the moment, is getting clarity about the type of relationship that you'd like to be in and what would that look like. You know, what would that look like and feel like for you when you're in that relationship? And really, if you're someone who likes to write down notes, just write down what would that make you feel like. Would you feel, you know, safe? Would you feel, you know, excited? Would you feel nervous? Like all these amazing, wonderful things to fall in love again. And so, and then the other part, which I would say to people, if you haven't done, is putting a mental map around the type of partner that you would like to be with. I think we talk so much that sometimes we don't really write down just the key things. And whilst we can negotiate, say, different outcomes, and you may find someone who actually kind of meets that mental map of what you're looking for, it's kind of looking at it and going, okay, well, he does it in a different way, or she does it in a different way, but I'm accepting. So it comes back to that whole acceptance thing. Oh, I do it this way, but she does it this way, you know, or I do it this way and he does it that way. So there's the acceptance, but because we all do things in different ways. So, yeah, that would be my 2 tips, you know, for people. Really sit down and try and get some clarity.
Well, thank you for being an amazing guest.
Oh, pleasure. It's been wonderful. So it's been great.
I look forward to connecting with you on your show later this year.
Yeah, it sounds amazing.
I believe it's October I'm booked on.
October, I believe.
Well, we've got a lot of time yet then.
I'll make sure I create something juicy.
All right. Thank you for being an amazing guest. Thank you, everyone who commented. Have a nice, enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your evening if you're in Australia. See you later.
See ya. Thanks, Kerry. Bye.